Welcome to the Goddess Show podcast, voices of visionary women, inspiring female leaders by interviewing amazing guests to encourage us all to rise up. Enjoy. Welcome to the Goddess Show podcast, voices of visionary women, inspiring female leaders. And I'm so excited today to have Saskia Kalwinek with us. Saskia is the founder of Love Empowerment Clinic. She's a psychotherapist. Welcome, Saskia, to the show.
Thank you so much, Tula, for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
That's awesome. And you look gorgeous too.
Thank
Now,
you.
I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Saskia. You started your journey as a sexual health counselor. You help couples and individuals to heal, open up and communicate at a higher level. So you continue to expand into psychotherapeutic modalities such as inner child work, which is so important. It can really change the blueprint, can't it? Art therapy and communication coaching. Now, you also promote joining science and spirituality, which is really interesting, by incorporating energy work practices such as past life regression, Reiki, sound healing into your sessions. You also run Sydney-based and international wellness retreats and workshops. You write books. You've published 2 books, haven't you? The first
Yeah.
one is called Secrets of a Formidable Dater, and the second one, Breakup Ascension. Great title, Saskia. So, books on relationships, obviously, spirituality and psychotherapy, and you cooperate with the local community, which is wonderful, community center on various social welfare projects. So you are obviously very busy. So
Yes,
without
I tried to
further ado, let's launch into your questions. And I would really like to know, Saskia, a bit about your own personal inspiring story. What brought you to this point?
Well, my story, I grew up in Poland, and I think the upbringing there can be sometimes quite difficult. It's quite harsh at times, and I went through some anxiety and depression states, and I had few relationships, and I was perhaps overly focused on having that relationship instead of healing myself and whatever is stopping me from growing. And I could see that in each and every relationship that I went into it, and then I've outgrown it very quickly because I didn't see any prospects for that growth and development. So eventually, I decided that it's not the best idea. I'm just kind of hurting myself by going back to the same place. And I finally started just to drop everything relationship wise, get healthy, get fit, started to work on my diet, my routines, and that just transformed everything. And this work, emotional work, especially on myself and allowing myself to feel. I believe that this is the greatest thing that I could do for myself, and that just skyrocketed my growth. Whereas I can now create that space for a potential partner that will be better for me and will help me grow instead of inhibit a growth.
Wow, that's amazing. What an amazing journey. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm sure that that's something that a lot of our listeners and viewers can relate to. I mean, us women and men too, but we all have so many relationship issues, and there are many times that we actually feel empty without having a partner. So that's a great,
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing that. So I want to ask you now to tell us about your business, the Love Empowerment Clinic, and what were the first, steps you took to get your business up and running and why you're passionate about it.
I'm just super passionate about health and helping people around sexuality and relationships, especially communication wise, because I believe that's how we start by changing our behaviors, wanting to switch something in our lives because something is not working out. I started as a counselor and a sexual therapist because that was a very interesting area for me. And later on, I progressed onto different courses such as the inner child work, art therapy, and I found it very helpful with clients. But then I decided that it's not enough, that I want more. So I started selling online courses on relationships, spirituality, couples therapy, sexuality as well. And then writing my books. So I wrote two. The third one is coming. I started to do more public speaking, cooperating with local businesses, with the community center that I've mentioned, been really, really good to help out with some fitness classes and some speeches about relationships. So the whole business is based on wellness from each and every side, because I find that a lot of businesses is either only psychotherapy or only the spiritual side. And I find that if we combine that, you can really go far, because we need to understand things on a mind level, but also on a spiritual and emotional level. So this is what my company is about. And I started really simple. I had no idea how to go about it at first, but just reaching out to local businesses, creating my website, posting my listing on Google Business, like simple things like that that need to be done. And eventually the world just throws you those little things that you need to do and people to meet, network. And that's how it just went on.
Fantastic. I think that gives our listeners and viewers a lot to go on. How do you start? I think being passionate about something is really, really important. And a combination of different modalities is something that I'm a huge advocate for myself, because I think that working just, intellectually, knowing something doesn't mean that it's absorbed on a cellular level. It doesn't mean it works on so many different levels, our vibration, our frequency, so I completely thank you so much for sharing that. Now tell me, in that amazing growth that you've seen, fantastic growth, what have been your biggest challenges so far?
My biggest challenge company-wise or my personal?
Well, I guess in your business, yeah.
My business. I think the doubts, like maybe not dreaming big enough sometimes, not persevering enough, right? That sometimes we're like, oh, maybe it can just be at this level, at this middle ground. But the truth is, we have so much higher potential. And if you do not fulfill that potential, then everything comes crashing down, because kind of the world, the universe doesn't want it, right? It wants us to grow, it wants us to expand. And if you're not dreaming big enough, then it's just not happening for you at the lower level, I believe.
That's great. Thank you. So how did you overcome these challenges? Or have you? Obviously you have. How did you do it? How did you overcome them?
Just by a very strong self-belief that I can do it and I can dream bigger for myself, and listening to people that dream big as well, that a lot of the time you would be in an environment where people are dreaming at the same level and you want someone that is more. So even simple listening to some podcast reels from people that already made it has made such an impact on my life that later on you're like, I can adopt the same mindset and I can do it. And plus, of course, the health stuff, the mental health stuff that I do on myself, working on my behaviors, all of that helps tremendously. But I think the main thing is the mindset that you can do it, because our thought is creating the world around us.
Exactly. I completely agree with that. That's amazing. Thank you very much for that. The thing is that did you ever hear that saying, if you're not scared enough, if your vision isn't big enough? It's about getting out of our comfort zone, isn't it? In a way.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. You need to
And
push yourself.
yeah.
Mm.
So tell me, how do you keep motivated through difficult times? Like if things
Um,
get tough, how do you keep motivated?
When things get tough, I just like to process it all and allow myself to express. So if the emotions need to come out, I like to even provoke them a little bit and be like, okay, you need to cry about it, break down and then come back. And then again, watching those like motivational stuff, telling yourself the motivational things, hanging out with people that empower you instead of with people that are like, oh, what are you doing? Right? Like, oh, aren't you afraid? So they promoting that fear inside of you, but then welcoming the fear when it comes that, okay, it's okay to be afraid, but I'm choosing to not to be afraid in the future. So all of those practices throughout the day, it just helps me out so much. And obviously, the healthier the body is, the easier we can process these things. And our body's trusting us more that we can make it, even though it seems so hard at the time. And then you're like, why was I even scared when you when you move past that already?
What was I thinking?
But it makes sense, right? Because our nervous system is on overdrive all the time from not our stuff, but also ancestral things. So we sometimes think like, why is my emotion so big? But it's not only your emotion. That's what we are not understanding, and we are not allowing it to be so big sometimes. And I'm like, let it be big if it needs to be big.
Yeah, it's interesting you should mention ancestral stuff because I recently was at a retreat in the jungle in
Hmm,
Mexico in May, and ancestral stuff did come up. And it was actually, it's amazing what a big effect it can have in your life. So it's interesting you mentioned that.
massive.
That's great. Okay, so what is now my next question? The best advice you have received recently?
Never stop. Just like keep persevering. But also that's from a male perspective, but from a female perspective, you don't have to follow through just as a man does, that we have a different cycle. We need different things. So we need rest, and the rest should be the part of your plan. It should be the part of your growth. So I think those two different sides that we should persevere and all the time do something, but resting is also doing something, is allowing yourself to recalibrate and
Hmm.
to bring that positive energy into your work that you're doing.
That's really, really interesting. You make the distinction there between men and women and how we need to rest. It's about creating a balance, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
So, do I take it from what you said that men don't need the same kind of balance? Is that what you,
Yes, in some ways, yes. Of course, men need rest.
yeah,
However, they are not run by the cycle. So, in fact, men thrive on doing the same thing every day and testing themselves on just regularity and coming through. Whereas for women, for us, it's more important that we honor our bodies and the emotions that are coming through.
that's great advice. Thank you so much, Saskia. Now, my next question is, what advice would you give to other aspiring female entrepreneurs?
Just believe and dream big. You know, that you
Brilliant.
can do it, that it's only a belief that is stopping you from progressing.
That's great advice. Thank you. My next question is, what are your favorite business tools, resources, and why? Just two or three. I mean, I know there are so many resources we can use.
I use MailChimp just to create campaigns for my clients and just being consistent with it. That it's not, oh, I'll send one email here and there. I do that every week, just schedule everything. I consistently work with WordPress and writing my blog. So that's a really good one. It's really important that your website is out there and it's updated constantly. Um, and then Google Ads, I would say, if we're talking online,
Mm,
but as well just communities. If it's not about just the internet, but keeping in touch with every community that you meet and making sure that you're somewhat active.
that's great advice. So, just for our listeners and viewers, MailChimp is a mailing platform for your database. WordPress is a platform for websites, if you don't know. And my next question is really exciting, actually. What are your goals and how, at this point, and how are you striving to achieve them?
My biggest goal right now is to continue growing my audience. to build that base of people that will be interested in health and wellness and retreats and everything that I'm providing. My third book, it's called Quantum Life, and it's on Kundalini awakening, working with energy, spirituality in general.
Fantastic. So, do you have a timeline or how do you work with your goals?
I usually set up a rough timeline, but I understand that everything can change over time. So I try not to push myself that, oh, it needs to be done by this point, but usually I do everything in my power that it can go through. Um, so I would say it's pretty fast now. Like when you finish one book, the second one is easier, the third one is easier.
So true.
Yes. So it will be faster. Last one took me about 6 months to write. But then to publish it also takes longer. So it's
Hmm.
very complicated process, but it can take shorter periods of time every time you do something.
Yeah, I'll have to ask you in a couple of questions time how we can get access to all of that. Tell me now, are you currently running any promos, contests, or giveaways for our listeners and viewers?
Yes, so I'm running promotions on my online courses currently. So it's 20% off.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Would you
discount
like to
code will
tell
be
us?
available.
Fantastic. So would you like to tell us about your online courses?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would very much value your feedback if you do get a course. There is a section for reviews there. So the course for couples, I think it's really useful, not only for couples, it's more for knowing how to be in a relationship. There's a plenty of exercises for couples, but also just individual knowledge that you can use later on in a relationship and on sexual problems. So everything is compiled. You have like sex therapy, relationship counseling, how to maintain a relationship. There's also similar course for only men and only females. So it's more about energy work, female energy versus masculine energy, and how to become that great self by combining both. That I believe that greatest women and greatest men, they can combine those feminine and masculine traits together.
Mm,
There's also more spiritual course for Kundalini awakening and working with the energy.
mhm,
So that's very spiritual. Yeah, so that's the awakening of the energy in the spine that we have that can give us greater pleasure in life. It's very much connected to Tantra that I teach as well. So the more you awaken the energy, you can experience the world and get what you want in life. There's inner child work course. It's based on IFS, internal family systems. So how to speak to yourself, how to have that internal dialogue. And the art therapy course, that's the longest one. But it has so many great exercises from multiple perspectives. So not only the regular art therapy, but also somatic drawing, which teaches you how to move your body and move your hands and how to experience art in a way that you can release trauma during the exercises.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. In fact, um, we might mention that how long is your exhibition? Saskia, for our listeners and viewers, Saskia has an exhibition up at Tap Gallery in Sydney, in Darlinghurst. How long is that exhibition running, Saskia?
It's until Sunday this week.
Until Sunday this week.
Yeah, so the last opening is actually today on the 17th, but we also have a women's circle on Saturday.
Oh, fantastic. So make sure you check into Tap Gallery and thank you so much. It sounds like there's a whole host of online courses and you're giving our listeners and viewers 20% off. So thank you for that, Saskia. That's wonderful. My next question is, what would you say to inspire other women in general?
So apart from the things that I already said around femininity and how to work with your body,
Just what
mm,
comes to mind.
find the people that will ascribe to the current version of yourself. That don't don't try to hold on to people just because they are from your past life that you've had and you've improved and you want to really keep them. the moment you release these people from your life, you will know who is going to stay and who needs to go in order for you to continue growing.
Oh, that's fantastic advice. Thank you so much. So,
No problem.
Saskia, this is your last question. Tell us how we can connect with you.
You can connect with me via my social media. So it's love.empowerment.clinic on Instagram. And when you just type into Facebook, Love Empowerment Clinic, it will come up. You can visit my website, loveempowermentclinic.com.au as well.
And that's where you get access to all the online courses. And
Yes.
how do our listeners and viewers get their 20% off when they go to your website? How do they do that?
Yes. So the code will be available through my social media for the next 2 weeks if you want to connect on that. If you want to claim your code, you will need to contact me, get your code, and you can apply it on the website.
Okay, that's great advice. Well, thank you so much, Saskia, for today. We've, for our listeners and viewers, great, wise advice from you. And I hope you've enjoyed it. And I wish you amazing success.
Thank you so much, Tula.
Bye, Saskia. Thank you for tuning in to the Gotta Show podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. And if you did, feel free to like, subscribe, share, and we look forward to seeing you next time.